hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Oak Grove Podcast. Our summer podcast for 2025 is all about travel and spirituality. Today, we're excited to have the Reverend Dr. Curt Lindquist, my friend Curt, who's known for his walking, hiking, and all the things, but a church member and retired United Methodist clergy, all the things. But we're excited to have him on the podcast, back from one of his latest travels. And tell me the name of the path. Salt Path?
That is a book that was written about
but it's
the Southwest Coast Path of England, one of the 13, 15 national trails of England.
Okay. And so we'll hear all about that from Curt and be talking about sort of how walking is different than other forms of travel. Now, you have to do other forms of travel to get the places you're walking most times. But we'll also, get into some of that and some of the spirituality and theology even of walking. But glad to have you here, Curt.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
So give us the sort of thumbnail sketch of, as we do with every guest, who you are and sort of how you got here, but in the brief version of it.
Grew up in central Illinois, went to seminary out east, came here for the PhD program at Emory, graduated, married Mary, who is very active in the church here, who is also from central Illinois, but we didn't know each other up there.
That's hilarious.
Had two sons. One, we needed to be around the Emory healthcare because of issues, and ended up finding a teaching position at Reinhardt Methodist School. And even though I had pastored, the opportunity to teach full-time was just too good to pass up. So, and with that, we live in the neighborhood and joined Oak Grove.
Yeah. And your beautiful backyard garden and all the things. But he and Mary are very active here. And when I started at Emory, one of your sons was in the Wesley, Dwight was in the Wesley group. So shout out, hey, Dwight. Part of what we're talking about is sort of travel, and you and I see each other walking the neighborhood here. And we had you back on the podcast, so welcome back to the podcast, I should say. We had you on the podcast in March of 2024 talking about Lenten practices, and one of the ones we talked about was walking as a spiritual practice. So it's sort of like part two of that. But in thinking about spirituality and travel, and how when we travel places and see things, it impacts us in different ways. When we come back to our typical place we are, it also impacts us again. You and I have talked often about walking in the same places and walking in different places and things we notice differently in those places. But where do you want to start? Is it helpful to start with your most recent journey and talk some about that experience and how that was different or the similar? Or do you want to start with walking in general?
Well, let's just start with walking or traveling in general.
Sure. Yeah.
We're all experts at traveling. It may be that it's peculiar to each of us, but all of us have traveled. All of us have memories. All of us have those experiences that have come back to us in our memories if we allow them to. I remember going out to Colorado from Illinois with my grandma Jones, and she was recounting how when in the 20s, they drove a car out there. Grandpa
Pre-interstate.
Grandpa Jones slid off a gravel road going in toward the Rockies, and Grandpa Jones was driving. Grandpa, you're going to kill all of us, because there was 4 girls in the family. Yeah. And so I think we all have those memories of either kind of scary moments or recalling someone else having scary moments, or memories where you've shared something with a family member, a child or something that really brings a lot. So I think traveling, especially in our mobile world today, it's just a given for us.
Sure.
And it's something that if we think about it, maybe we can get more out of it or see more that's there than what we might.
Sure. In thinking about those trips out west, our family, we did a couple of trips out west. I was grateful to have those opportunities, but also it impacted me greatly. Later becoming a forestry major and then working out west in the summers. And this love for national parks and all these trips and things that my family now shares.
Yes.
And so in some ways it is sort of this, the travel bug gets into your family sometimes.
Yeah. And it can be a career.
Sure.
It can be something that you see, I mean, as we kind of talk later today, that you begin to see that there's more to the world than what you expected, and in a way, maybe more surprises of what God has for us in the world than what we might see.
Yeah, there was a time I was in Colorado, and I was driving one place or another. Some folks stopped on the road, so I stopped to help them, and it turns out they were Orthodox. Greek Orthodox. Now, I was working at a Christian camp, but I'd never had any experiences talking with people who were Orthodox.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're a part of the breakaway church.
That's how they referred to you.
That's because I was Protestant. But they were talking more about the split between East and West. Roman Catholicism, like 1060. It blew my mind. Mm-hmm. And I was just driving around in Colorado. It was not a religious pilgrimage to meet Orthodox people. But it's those sort of chance encounters that I stopped because there's two guys on the side of the road. I'm like, you guys okay? And started talking with them. Do y'all need a ride? No, we're good. Our friend's coming from the church. I was like, oh, what church? So you see what you get yourself into.
Yes.
I know for like our families and people love traveling because we'd experience and see new things.
Yes.
Beautiful places that have history or like some sort of draw to them for us.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, because you were one that really helped me kind of see this. When I walk, I try to see how many people are using canes or how many people are in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And of course, on the trail, there isn't when you're out in the wilderness. But I've tried to pay close attention to how many people who are either elderly suffering from some sort of knee problems, hip problems, might be very much outside their comfort zone walking, or people who are using wheelchairs to get into the English Channel.
Yeah.
They have big, tired wheelchairs. And so one thing about traveling that I've really come to see is, and I wrote a little blog about this, is that the path doesn't refuse anyone. In a way, traveling, at least in the form that I do, walking, potentially or possibly it's open for anybody. And to me, that's kind of an eye-opener, because we sometimes think of traveling, especially if you're going outside, and you can look at my body, I'm not fit for the AT. You have to be a marathon runner to tackle some things.
Yeah.
But, you don't. You don't. Traveling is something that creates opportunities for anyone and everyone. It may be different, but each, and you may have to find what is suitable for that particular person, but it's open. It's open. It's inclusive.
Yeah. And I appreciate the nod to thinking about folks with mobility impairments. I have a daughter who's a part-time wheelchair user and is learning to walk and do that as safely as we can. But in Europe and other places in the world, you got 1,400-year-old streets. It's not going to be easily accessible.
No.
But we often, when our family goes to the beach, we'll borrow a beach wheelchair, which has these big tires on them.
I had never seen it before.
And they are much easier to push than something with narrow tires. But they're made specifically to get folks out into the beach and make it more accessible.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to hear for that part of things. But yeah, anytime you have if you're pushing a stroller around the neighborhood, you realize how many curbs don't have the little curb cut. Same with if you ever use a walker or a cane or something, you realize how many places are inaccessible. Or why is there not a sidewalk that goes this other 3 feet? Just 3 more feet.
Yeah.
And that stuff will drive you nuts.
Yes.
But it is part of seeing that differently. And then what do we do about that? How do we help fix some of that? Or lobby, encourage, cajole, whatever words we need to get people to do those things.
So I've just returned from completing the Southwest Coast Path, which goes from the Bay of Bristol down past along the Atlantic coast in Cornwall, and then up Cornwall, Devon, Dorset along the English Channel.
Oh, wow.
630 miles. And again, it's, it's supposed to be almost 3.5 times Mount Everest with all of the ups, elevations, and descents. So it was a tough climb. When I think of particular places, it's just different. This trail has been different. This travel experience has been different. I finished writing one of my blogs by talking about how it was an ordinary. I was walking through Oak Grove.
Yeah, just
except it's in South England.
Okay.
It was a very ordinary walk in terms of chatting with people, not just once a day, but once every 15 minutes. And so it made a very comfortable walk as opposed to walking, say, through Italy, where you're just, amazed at the history, the art, the cathedrals. For me, I gained a real sense of how Roman Catholics might have a sense of space that's very different from us Protestants. In the sense that for them, the cathedral or a church, you go inside and in all the side chapels, or at least some of them, you'll see people praying, you'll see people scurrying around doing things. And so the sense of space, it's a more concentrated activity there in the actual sanctuary. And so that was a learning experience. It was fun for me to kind of contrast that, because in southern England, it's good old England's a very secular place. And so,
sure.
You go knock on the doors and they're locked. And not all of them, but some of them are. So it was a different sort of walk. And that was both its charm, but also its challenge. The first part was a reintroduction to the Celtic world.
Okay.
And
sure.
When I wrote about clouds or stones or styles or trees, as I said once, I felt like when I was walking through some of these places that there was a Celtic saint, right behind my right shoulder.
Sure. Walking along beside you. I mean, that's one of those things. And for the writings, if you're looking for these, tell us the address of the blog that you've written.
Well, it's a Facebook, but it's on my WordPress, and I haven't changed the name. Sabbatical 2017.
Yeah.
So it's a little dated.
Well, we'll put it in the show notes here. So if you want to look at that and read some of the writings, or if you're friends with him on Facebook, which is how I keep up with your travels most often, and see photos, which I get very excited about.
Yeah.
When there are pictures of all these trees or all these statues or all these fountains or whatever thing it might be
right.
on your occasions and trips. Well, I think like walking is one of those things evolutionarily we as a species evolved to walk. That's why our bones or the structures there, our feet, all of these things, the arch of your foot, all that. And so there's something part of our DNA, literally, that is about travel. Anytime we look back at narratives and histories, or we discover a new archaeological site, we find things and evidence of the folks traveling. It's sort of built into us.
Yes. Yes.
And I like that idea that traveling is accessible, as you said, that anybody can do it, whether that's in one of the episodes for the podcast, we're talking about staycations.
Yes.
And traveling around Atlanta.
Yes.
Or just the neighborhood, or going to this restaurant or this place or this park you've never been to. And all those can be free things or expensive things, but it makes it accessible from a getting to that place standpoint.
Right.
Yes. Exploring the world around you, wherever you might be.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and walking, as one fellow walker said, as I asked fellows, men and women, why they were doing it, said, well, it gives me peace between the ears. Or another fella who was walking, who moved to a different place in England, said, this was the first time that I came back to southern England, and I took a detour of a couple miles to walk by my old home. And so it was walking allows you kind of that luxury of dwelling in nostalgia in a good way, of kind of reconnecting with your past, either physically like that, or just, at least when I'm walking, you got a lot of time to think about your life. Yeah. And so you can think about previous memories, previous experiences, previous trips. And so I think walking, because it is such a slow paced, and, to be honest, you're not overwhelmed 60 minutes of the hour, 8 hours a day walking. There's times when it's, I don't want to say routine, but there's times when it is, I guess, routine. You let your mind wander, as you're also at other times paying a great deal of attention to what's around you. And so walking, the slowness of walking just allows so many opportunities to both kind of remember things about yourself, kind of think about things that you want to do, that as you're running through an airport or rushing to catch a train or all of that, it's just hard to do.
Yeah. Well, I think something about the steadiness and the ritual of it in some ways, as you've described, like this is my rest day. But even the way you chart out your course and how many rest days do I need is very, in some ways, ritualized. It has meaning behind why you're doing those things. And I think about, like, as someone who travels with two small children anywhere we go, getting to places and like the hurry of the airport and for me, the stress of like making sure our stuff gets there and the wheelchair, all the things. But then when we get somewhere, we just like to sort of chill.
Yes.
So it's a different rhythm. You hurry up and rest, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And that's a more episodic way of living life, as opposed to the routinization of, well, you wake up and you have breakfast and you go do this thing. And so in the way that you travel in your walking and your journeys you've done, it seems to be much more of like, well, here's what I'm doing today. Like, just like if you were here in the neighborhood, it has some similarities to it. You're in a different place, you're walking somewhere else, but it's some of the same pattern.
Yes. I kind of intentionally have destinations, and I'm not, as I said before, I'm not one who could do the AT or the Pacific Crest anymore and just hike 20 miles. I have to be I'm one who has to know that somebody else is fixing dinner, that somebody else has made a bed. It might be a hostel, it might be a monastery. But within that day, there is a certain flow to the day that I've just experienced constantly while walking. And that is, usually I'll use the morning hours for the quiet time and more meditative aspects of just getting my head on right, kind of sinking deeper into myself, which allows me, it's one of those peculiar things, I think, as you kind of get, for me, as I get more aware of what I'm kind of feeling at that particular day, you can be more alert to what's going on around me. I can become more alert to what's going on around me.
Sure.
And so as I kind of go through those periods of time, then the rest of the day, it really is a matter of one foot in front of the other and seeing what that particular day brings. It may be a day where I meet somebody that we'll walk together for 2 hours or 3 hours. It may be a day where I'll just, as often in England, I'll be just chatting with 10 different either individuals, fellow walkers from England, fellow walkers from the Netherlands, fellow walkers from Norway. And each day will kind of have a certain pattern that you kind of follow.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because like it is sort of more of a routine day in some ways, or that your rest days have their own rituals and routines. And I think I like that aspect of it. I never thought about it till this conversation that like that's sort of how everyday life is.
Yeah.
One of the previous podcasts, the first one we had out this season, was about summer camp. And Camp Glisten specifically. So shout out to Mary Lawton and Pastor Melissa for the episode that came out a couple weeks back. You can go find that if you need to. Mary Lawton talked about the mountaintop experience and how in the Transfiguration, she talked about how, Jesus said, well, hey, we got to come back down from this place. Let's go. And how that experience is a unique thing. But then one of the takeaways from her conversation was that the way she is at camp, she can be like that every day.
Yeah.
And I think I like that about travel in some ways is people not escaping their routine, but for most people it is.
It is.
And your routine is different, but also there's some similarities as far as like how the day goes or how that works. That's different than like when someone's traveling somewhere else in a big plane.
Right. So. But it's also, I think, I try to cultivate the attitudes that carry over. This may sound strange in talking about walking because most of the time I'm walking between villages, between towns, along the coast. I've always been interested in street art and graffiti. And this sounds crazy, but when I was in Liverpool at the end of the trip, I was with Mary and I was looking for a Banksy painting.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't find it. And after asking 8 or 9 people in a kind of warehouse district of Liverpool, who do you ask if nobody else has answered it? I flagged down a police car.
Perfect. Excuse me, sir. Can you show me where Banksy did some vandalism?
I did get a strange look at first.
Yeah?
Yes.
But then did he tell you?
When he asked, "Are you from the States?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I've been over there playing baseball." That's just the friendliness of
course you have. Like,
yes.
It's like, yeah.
So
thank you, Bobby. Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually he looked at the photo I had. It was pinpointed on Google on this street. And he started looking around and he said, it's over there. It's been painted over. But he recognized the sliding metal door and just a tip of the paint of the Banksy that was still there. And I say that simply because, as a professor, I'm more into reading books and stuff like that. But street art has its own way of expressing cultural attitudes and feelings, and kind of gives a sense of where people are that people aren't, or the people that I don't normally interact with. So that attention to something like street art there, well, why don't I do that here? And so one of my goals is to do some more exploring about street art in Atlanta.
Yeah, and there's some great street artists. We just recently at the church here had
I saw
a mural painted.
I saw the mural yes.
by a regionally famous street artist, Eric Nine, did a great job in doing a mural that's on the youth group wall entrance. It says "Go Do Good," which is the motto of our recently passed away Thomas Benefield, much loved, and that was his motto. It's funny how street art can be sort of that cultural referencing. Banksy got his start in the West Bank and sort of social and political commentary about things there, but also some of his most beloved ones have to do with people and animals, and I'm a fan of his as well. But there's several local Atlanta artists who do things that are pretty funny, and you see it all over the city when you know how to look.
How to look, yes. So that's when you develop and cultivate an attitude while you're traveling, or an appreciation for something, and there's no rule that says you can't continue having that interest
when you get back. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I like that idea of how traveling opens us up in some ways. My mother often remarks that as you get older or mature more, I'm not sure which way, you either become more open to the world or more closed.
Yeah.
And I like to think that traveling and all the helps you be more open to the world.
It can. There's no guarantee. No guarantee. This last trip, for example, I was walking and I just realized, because I'm also aware that I may end up writing or thinking or dwelling on just those mountaintop moments, to use the kids' expression.
Sure.
And life isn't that. And so I was walking by a village along the seacoast where 150 years ago or so, the rock from the seabed was excavated and taken to help build piers and wharves in Portsmouth. And as a result, that changed the current. Within about 20 years, one night, the villagers woke up with waves coming into their houses over the roofs.
Wow.
It was just a spectacular storm. It wiped away the village. A couple of days later, I walked by a beach that was used in the training exercises for World War II. And it was called, I think, the Tiger exercise. And landing craft landed on this beach. The Germans knew about it. They torpedoed a couple of these large landing ships. The British and the Americans were not on the same radio frequency. So the protective escorts didn't know quick enough how to respond. The men who were landing, who were jumping from the ships, didn't know how to use their life preservers. Something like 750 men died in that exercise. Whereas on 2 months on the Omaha beach had many more casualties, but the Utah beach had only 150 casualties.
Wow.
But the kind of terror and panic and despair, I walked trying to be conscious of the pain of people that I would obviously not see, but I could recount. Or when I said that our family had an interesting trip, what I learned was that in the mid 1800s, life was miserable if you were like our family, which was just bottom rung. We were out, cutting hay or
sure.
picking up after cattle or doing whatever you did. And so in this area where some of my ancestors grew up, 3 lay Methodist pastors decided to get other farmers together. Well, the landlord, the power that be, didn't like that. They were arrested. They were tried for breaking a law against convening secretly, even though at that time, over 250,000 members, including the king's brother, was a member of the Masonic order, which is a secret order. They were tried not by their peers, but by the landed gentry. And these men were sent to Canada and to Australia. Here were some farmers who were trying to earn a living for their family who were punished. And it just seeing the tiger exercise, seeing the villagers, you just realize that there's pain all around the world, and it's been painful at other times.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have that deep sense that in the midst of all of these things, not only is God creating a world of beauty, which at times is indifferent to me, but it's also a world that needs some sort of a redemptive, hopeful presence, both in our world and also a world 100 years ago or 400 years ago.
Yeah, or in the 100 years to come.
Yes.
And think about a place and how the place has the good, the bad, the indifferent, and that all of it, as Richard Rohr says, sort of belongs.
Yeah,
that it's all there. And then we who come along get to figure out what to do with it and how to deal with it. But to think that God is with us in the midst of sufferings, joys, beauty, heartache, all those things really matters, I think.
And for me, I think knowing that we have to do with it also includes knowing that others may be more responsive in ways. And maybe God's Spirit allows others to be at the forefront, and that we, in our own way, can be a witness to something different. That's why I'm always struck by, when I go through churches, I look to see if I see signs of activity. And this time I saw signs, is your debt overwhelming you? Or signs of, do you know someone who has a drug abuse? Or I noticed this last year, or do you know someone who's suicidal? And so what maybe the church, at least as for the little window I have on the church in England, maybe it can't solve those problems, but it can say, hey, we are going to try to offer something on behalf of what God's doing for everybody. And that maybe both what we do, it may be helpful, but it may also stimulate somebody else to try to tackle those problems.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's your family history story about like some Methodist lay people getting people together, even though they didn't go so well. But it's an impactful story now because, as you know, there's doing the right thing is doing the right thing.
Right.
And how do we use our abilities and times, talents, privileges to help do that?
Yes.
So that's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it might not bear fruit for the thing we're doing, but for people later some way.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even for some guy walking the coastal path 150 years later.
Yes.
But again, I think that's part of what it is to pay attention to that.
I think walking, each person has to gain a sense that it's right for them in a way that helps them move beyond having it as a kind of comparison with somebody else's type of traveling, type of walking. It allows you in a way just to become very settled with yourself as you are. That sounds so simple, but I'm just convinced that we compare ourselves to the point of death with everybody else around us. And there's something about that challenge of walking, but the glory of walking, of just, my stride might not be as long as yours. I might kind of move sideways as much as I move forward.
Yeah.
But there's something about walking that, as I said at the outset, we're all experts in walking.
Mm.
We're all experts, or those of us who can walk. And so it's, how can we kind of enjoy that and allow that to nourish us, not just bodily, but in our own kind of spirit. And I think that's the glory of something that is so available to us, just like breathing. It's so available to us, but do we use it, and do we allow it to help us kind of get in touch with ourselves to the point that we could?
Yeah,
it's a challenge.
I like it. I'm here for it. Curt, this has been really fun. And I love that you're wearing your Zion National Park in the travel theme.
Yes.
But it's been really good, as always, to talk with you about your travels, but also in how you think about traveling and you think about walking and seeing and doing things. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I'm go ahead and say it now. We'll have you back a third time sometime. But I'm really glad you've been here with us to talk about that. If you got any questions for us, let us know. You can reach out. You'll see Curt in the pews or out in the street or anywhere else. Stop him, honk gently. That's what we say. Don't lay on the horn, but just tap the horn at us. But always glad to be with you and have you here with us. Folks, thanks for watching and listening to the podcast. I hope you're finding this enjoyable in your own travels and your own walking and making your way through the world. We do hope you'll join us on the next episode of the podcast. Thanks for being here. Peace.